I was trying to do something different than Oliver Stone and everybody else that had done it. And the film was very powerful. They told me the movie was powerful, it was profound. And most of the people in the distribution departments loved the picture because most of them are very conservative or they're libertarian. But when you get to the higher ups that run the studios, you know, the Katzenbergs and these guys are ultra liberal. And I could never get the film past them. They would never pick it up. The only company that wanted the movie was MGM, Alan Ladd Jr., who's conservative. He was the chairman of MGM. He loved the picture, and so did his president of distribution, the late Ashley Boone, who was he was the only black American who was the president of distribution for a major studio. And he had called me up and he told me, he just said, Jack, you know, I want to tell you, I love the movie. It's so refreshing to see a film, he said, where, he says, I watch films every day, all the time. He said, to actually see a film and see two black actors, not stereotyped in a movie, is so refreshing, he said. And he was gung-ho for the film. But at that particular time, MGM was in receivership with a bank in the Netherlands called Credit Leonis. And Alan Ladd, even though he was the chairman, any film that was going to get to theatrical distribution had to be approved by the bank, because the previous administration, run by Frank Mancuso, he ran MGM into the ground. So they hired Alan Ladd basically to salvage MGM. So you know, but they wanted the movie. He thought it was going to do very well, and he had told me, he said, Jack, if I had seen this film in '89, this thing would have went out. He said, but by that time, MGM had been, you know, put through the grill. So, you know, I got so many screenings from the studios. I mean, Disney saw my film 10 times. I mean, here I am, an unknown director, first-time director, and I got 10 screenings out of a major studio. I got 7 out of Warner Brothers. I mean, normally you get 1, maybe 2 screenings if you're lucky. Because once they reject it the first time, you know, you can never get it back again. So I kept getting more screenings and more screenings and more screenings. I went over to all and those days, what they used to call the mini majors, like Orion Pictures, Turner Movies, New Line Cinema, you know, and by that time the studios were buying up all these companies to freeze out the small guys. So they took over the whole industry, and they controlled it. So now you had really no place to go except to the American film market, which I was forced to go back to the American film market, and that's the area that I was trying to get out. I wanted to get out of the American film market, because once you start making films at the American film market level, you know, it's like you're stuck there forever. I mean, I've never seen any filmmaker that I've known that come out of there that have made the jump from the American film market level to the studios. You know, I've never seen it happen. I mean, I came pretty close. You know, if the MGM deal had come through, I mean, I would have been the only one that I know of. You know, most of the guys that you know, would make movies, if they weren't making their own films and they worked for a studio film or a mini major, they were hired on as a producer or something by somebody else. But you know, actually be an unknown filmmaker and make that jump. It'd be like playing in some small little, you know, Kansas City ball club, and all of a sudden you're picked for the New York Yankees, you know, and you're playing in the World Series. I mean, that's how big the jump is. And
well, what is your situation now? Now, I've got links, and I've got you know, up to your site and pictures of your promo and all that. You can buy it. You can buy this video right now,
right?
DVD, or can you get it online too?
Well, you can get it online. You can order it from my website. That's the only place you can order it. People can go there, because the middle America basically is very conservative, and they like good old-fashioned war movies. And, you know, people on both coasts, New York and Los Angeles, even in the conservative movement out here, everybody's jaded. I mean, it's just, you know, they expect to see a guy like me coming out here and, you know, with the kind of money that I made this Forgotten Heroes with, you know, I'm supposed to come out with a film as powerful and as big as Braveheart or Saving Private Ryan, which I thought was a disgrace of a movie. They interjected what I call the Vietnam syndrome into the World War II guys. I mean, these people have no shame at all, you know. And I mean, I remember watching that movie, and they showed the Americans questioning why they're killing Germans. I mean, that generation never questioned why they're killing Germans. They may have complained about the weather, the food, everything else, but they went there, they did their duty, they killed the Germans, they killed the Japanese, they knew what they were there for. But again, the people making these films believe that every war is like Vietnam, even if they make a movie about the Civil War. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, you know, but the thing is, you've got young kids of today watching these movies, and this is what they're buying. I mean, because, you know, the young kids today don't have a frame of reference of what really happened, you know. So they just basically, you know, I believe they shut my movie out because they didn't want some 14-year-old kid watching Forgotten Heroes saying, wow, this is cool, and by the time he's 18, he joins the military. And this is why you don't see any pro-American films showing Americans as heroes. You know, like we did growing up, you know, in the 50s, and all those great war films, you know, from World War II and Korea. Because these people, again, they control the narrative, and they just will not allow us to make these kind of films. So, you know, people can go to my website at ForgottenHeroesTheMovie.com. You can buy the film on PayPal. I send it out to people. It's a DVD, and we're donating $5 of every film to the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial Fund, which is an organization that Gary Sinise is involved in. And, you know, I mean, even the memorial people aren't helping me with this movie. You know, it's just, people are just so jaded, you know. It's a shame because, I mean, the movie, I've gotten some great reviews. You can go on my site. I mean, Michael Moriarty, the actor, saw my film, and he wrote this great thing on Big Hollywood that the late Andrew Breitbart set up, and he said Forgotten Heroes is unforgettable. So, you know, he compared my film, Forgotten Heroes, to the movie that was made in 1946, The Best Years of Our Lives, which blew me away. I mean, that was such a great compliment, you know. You know, because Hollywood is I mean, they're just attacking everybody. I mean, it's just look what they did to Mason. I mean, he's, you know, because he dared to make a movie about the suffering of Christ, you know, and again, the movie went out and made, you know, $600-700 million, and they made him a billionaire. And they can't, Hollywood cannot allow one actor to make, because if Mel Gibson does it, and then Tom Cruise decides to do it, and he does it, and then Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington and all these guys start becoming their own, you know, one-man acting, directing studio. This is basically what it is. They're going back to what it was in the silent movie era when Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton basically made their own films. This is why they come up with the studio system in the 1920s to stop that, you know, and because then there'd be no need for studios. There'd be no need for these companies, Warner Brothers, and they'd be out of business. And so that's why they attack Mel, you know. And, you know, and the thing with Mel is, you know, Mel is an actor. He thinks like an actor. He doesn't think like an entrepreneur, even though he's one hell of an entrepreneur. He just doesn't, you know, what they've done to him, he should make his own studio. And he should start making films, you know, pro-American films, just cranking them out and getting guys like me to work for him. And I mean, because there's a lot of us out there in Hollywood. I mean, we just can't get up to bat, you know, and the only thing that's going to basically help Forgotten Heroes is the American public buys, you know, a film like Forgotten Heroes, tells Vietnam veterans. I mean, I always felt that the Vietnam veterans saw my movie, this thing would go through the roof, and then I'd get some kind of notoriety, basically, and I could raise money in the private sector to make, you know, to hire a PR firm to really get myself, because I need to get myself on some major radio shows like Rush and Michael Savage. And I mean, even Dennis Prager saw my film and he loved it, but I just can't get Dennis to get me on the show because Dennis he's doing a million things at once. He's like trying to grab the wind. He's a remarkable guy, and you know, I've done that. I was on the Mark Levin show. Mark Levin saw my movie. He liked it. I've tried to get on Sean Hannity. I've given a DVD to Sean, plus the letter from President Bush. People can go on my website. I managed to get the film to President Bush when he was in office in 2006, and he wrote me a nice letter and thanking me for my efforts to help the vets and stuff like that. I mean, you know, in the conservative world out here, you know, it just didn't make any difference. I mean, they don't care. I mean, the conservatives out here are waiting for someone to come out of nowhere with Braveheart, you know, and that's an impossibility. I mean, it's never going to happen, you know.
I would like to see more American films made. I mean, you know, I really took, you know, I think our founding fathers, you know, first time in 4,000 years, they created a country where we could control it. You know, and what form of government have you given us, Mr. Franklin? A constitutional republic, if you can keep it, ma'am. Now, that's the point I think we're at right now. And how does Vietnam, how does your film and your view on Vietnam, and I support what you're doing. I support the Vietnam vets. I support the Iraqi vets and Afghani vets. I don't believe we got any business being over there installing regimes. I think we ought to be taking care of our own country, our own borders. I don't think that makes me un-American.
Right.
And
no, I think, you know, I mean, the politics of war, I mean, just like, I forget, there was a quote by Lincoln, you know, he talked about, you know, all the young men going to war and dying, and you know, and the politicians basically stay away. I mean, this is what's even in my movie. I mean, Bill Smith plays General ZELENKOV. He talks about, you know, liberals in America, you know, starting these wars. He calls it a warrior's curse. And he says, you know, we have, in Russia, we have, well, he says the Soviet Union, we have armchair revolutionaries. They sit back, you know, they love the smell of battle, but they're far away from it, you know, and, you know, and this basically, this has been the history of mankind since, you know, day one. But I just wanted to honor the Vietnam vets because I thought what they did was a noble cause. I think defeating communism, anyone who defeats is trying to take liberty away anywhere in the world should be defeated. I mean, it's just attacked, and especially when, because I mean, the communists do not have the right to go from country to country to country and gobble them up, and we basically sit around and do nothing. I mean, I think we need to. You know, after World War II, we basically became the policemen of the world. We don't have no choice. And I mean, I've argued with this. When I had gone to Czechoslovakia and scored the film there right after the fall of the Soviets had pulled out, the communist government had collapsed. And I was sitting on the St. Charles Bridge with two Russian soldiers. We were talking, you know, and these guys wanted to come to America. They loved Stallone. They loved everything. And this East German kid comes up to me, and this Czechoslovakian kid and two French kids, and they started to attack America. And then they said, you know, we're the policemen of the world and everything, and we should, you know, we should have stopped the Russians from coming to Czechoslovakia. And I said, we're not the policemen of the world. I said, this is the job you people have given us. We don't want it, and we're bad at it. I said, you know. And I said, you know, in the Czech Spring, I said I was 17 years old. I said, I have to come over here. I'm from Boston. I said, I have to come over here to defend your city against their fathers. And I point to these two Russian guys while you're up in a window in this house over here looking at me shoot their fathers. I said, you want freedom in your country, you get out of that window and you shoot them. I said, and when they start killing 200,000-300,000 of you people, then we'll come over and help you out. Because I tell you, if the Russians came to Boston, Massachusetts, you wouldn't be over there in Boston helping me. So I said, you know, and I'm sitting here arguing with these three guys, you know.
Now,
and it's, you know, I mean, I said, if the Russians invaded Massachusetts, I said, you know, there's parts of Boston you don't even go into, you know. I mean, they would come out of South Boston, the Irish, and they would kill them all, you know. So, yeah, it's just. But see, the whole thing with me was I just resented the fact that this group of you know, these former hippies and everything, you know, got in power in Hollywood, and they just started to take you know, attack the Vietnam vets, and it just, you know, it was uncalled for. And I mean, you can disagree with the law, the policy, everything else, but why take it on the vets, you know? And these guys went over there, they did their job. Jack Kennedy got up there, and he talked about defending liberty, you know, pay any price, bear any burden, you know. I mean, I had that quote at the end of the film. And it honors the vets, you know, because these guys just wasn't, they just joined up because of, we had a very young, idealistic president. And, you know, I mean, nobody wants to go to war. I mean, you know, I mean, the problem with America is that, you know, we won World War II, and we made the world safe for communism. We should have made the world safe for democracy.
You know, I said I wouldn't mind the UN sitting there in New York if it was based on the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights for the world.
Right. No, it's again. I mean, you know, the communists. I mean, you know, the communists are relentless, and the fellow travelers and all the progressives. I mean, this, you know, this is all from out of Karl Marx. They've infiltrated this country, the school systems. I mean, Woodrow Wilson was the worst president we've ever had, besides Franklin Roosevelt. I mean, they've infiltrated everything. You know, we need to elect people who are conservatives. I mean, just die-hard conservatives. And not only in the presidency, but in the Congress. That's where the money is. I mean, that's where the real power is in the Congress, you know. But the Democratic Party has been saying, I mean, the Democratic Party's gone. I mean, it'll never be saved. It's either going to collapse, you know, and they're going to collapse the country until the American public basically rise up and say, you know, enough's enough. I mean, we're not going to be taken over by anybody. I mean, we got the largest armed civilian population on the planet. They can't take our guns away. I don't care how many laws they pass. And I get this with conservatives all the time. You know, they're going to pass this. Let them pass anything. They passed an amendment to tell you couldn't drink booze in the 1920s. I mean, that was a major success. I mean, everybody became a drunk. So the same guys that supplied the booze are going to supply the guns.
Let me stop you right there, because I made a film. I wrote a book back in 40 years ago about the United States when all laws against victimless crimes had been abolished. The Federal Reserve was kicked out of this country, and the country was run for the people, for the benefit of the people. And that scenario meant that, you know, to me, and I am from the 60s, you know, and I have smoked pot my whole life, and think that's the reason I'm still alive and healthy. And the book I wrote about the marijuana being legal, victimless crimes being abolished, is really an answer, because I learned in my research that the CIA was bringing all the drugs in. They used the bodies of our troops in Vietnam to bring it in here, bring the heroin in. They use and we're guarding the heroin in Afghanistan right now.
Right.
Now, would that movie make it in Hollywood?
No, of course not. No. No, I mean, this is like, you know, I mean, I was, I don't want to say a close friend of Andrew Breitbart, but I knew Andrew very well, and we belonged to the same conservative groups. I mean, and I've sat down with Andrew many times, and we talked, you know, we talked about my film, and we talked about, you know, his war on the media. I mean, his thing was to bring down the liberal media, because, like he said, they control the narrative, you know. Once we as conservatives can get our hands on the narrative, we can flip this country over.
Well,
and then we can expose everything. I mean, we can expose these people. But the thing is, it's a joint effort between not only going after the media, but somebody has to go after Hollywood. That's the whole thing. I mean, you need to get. Go ahead.
I did the same thing. I after what happened at Waco, I was really disturbed about that, and I went out and I started the militias in New Mexico. And I started the Free American magazine, which was on the newsstands for 10 years all over the country.
Right.
And they tried to kill me. In 2004, they tried to kill me. And they kept me unconscious for 3 months after the motorcycle wreck didn't. And, you know, why were they coming after me? Because I've been telling the truth and giving a voice to people like you for 20 years.
Yeah.
I felt that we didn't. I was so disappointed in the way how did the media handle Waco? I mean, we had to kill the army had to go in there. The BATF had to go in there and kill 17 little children to save them from a child molester. Didn't make sense to me then.
No, well, the thing is, you know, Bill Clinton. You know, I mean, this guy is such a reprobate. He honors. I mean, when I was reading, David Koresh was going out every day buying food, and they never stopped him. You know, and Janet Reno. I mean, this was a big thing against. This is against liberalism, against, you know, what they call, you know, radical fundamentalist Christianism, you know, Christianity. And I mean, if Reagan had done this, they would have impeached Reagan for killing those kids, you know. So, but a Democrat can kill Christian kids, it's okay. See, I mean, conservative Christians are basically now what the Jews were in Germany in the 30s. This is what's happening. But the problem with the Jews and the German people of Germany, no, they didn't have guns. We have guns. They can't make a move here. So and the thing is, we have Americans have what I call that old Wild West, that pioneer mentality, and they know it, and that's why they won't make their move. They're going to try to chip away. And the more they chip away, they basically cutting into our income stream. And the more they take away our income and our property tax and everything else, then we just, every 2 years we vote these bums out. And this is what's happened. I mean, Obama's going to get voted out, but, we're going to get Mitt Romney. I'm not a big fan of Mitt Romney. I like to see, I wish Newt was running and he got the nomination, because Newt tells him off, I mean, Newt has all his baggage, but what guy, I mean, after Bill Clinton, I mean, everyone's talking about a standard. We had no more standards for presidents. I mean, look what the Democrats have done. They've lowered the standards, and we got this guy in the White House who's never held a job in his life. He went from not working to the presidency.
Well, I've made the comment. I made the comment when Bill Clinton was president, I was kind of comfortable with the being called a right-wing extremist.
Yeah.
But when George Bush got in and enacted the Patriot Act and then handed the bankers $2 trillion on the way out the revolving door, maybe I became a liberal. I'm not quite sure where I fit in there. I'm just an old biker from Texas. Why are they trying to kill me?
Yeah. Now, we're just, they have to follow the Constitution, and basically it's up to we the people to force these hired help, because that's what they are. They're all hired help. I mean, I write on the blogs, I say, we the people are the boss of all the bosses, but we don't act like a boss. That's the problem.
Well, we've been programmed, and we're controlled. The media, they don't call it programming for nothing, do they?
No, they don't.
Oh, let me play. I've got a little segment here that I had up, and it just my new theory is that God is alive and well on the internet, and I got this piece in while I was waiting to bring you up. I just want to play a little clip out of it here and get your opinion on it. This is on the Army intelligence, microwave weapons, and a secret dirty war. This is called the New Phoenix program.
The Vietnam War was the formative experience for a generation of CIA and military intelligence personnel involved in the Phoenix program. They viewed the military defeat in Vietnam as a betrayal on the home front, a loss of will by domestic political enemies, not a military failure against a nationalistic revolution fought as a guerrilla war. The Phoenix program, assassinating suspected VC sympathizers in a systematic manner, worked well and is the blueprint for the current black operation targeting thousands of loyal Americans using state-of-the-art microwave and radio frequency radiation weapons. The motivation to suppress domestic dissidents and to assassinate loyal American opposition stems from the perception of dissent against the war as treason. This philosophy is stated very clearly in the Mind War paper written by Michael Aquino. The Department of Defense has a huge stake in futuristic technology that kills by ionizing and non-ionizing radiation, leaving little or no trace.
All right, let me just stop that there.
Okay.
What do you think about that introduction? Now, what they are saying here about the attacks? This has been going on for me forever. Oh, he started the militia. What part of the Second Amendment don't you folks understand? Yeah, I started the militia. I did it in the governor's office, and that governor is running for president right now, so I don't believe I did anything wrong. But I was targeted. And I published in my books, Mystery Babylon, I published the whole Homeland Security assessment, where they're going after Christians, they're going after veterans, and anybody that might be a militias. Oh yeah, they don't like the word militia because that's all of the American people, and all of us are armed, as you pointed out.
Oh yeah, it is. I believe there's over 200 million Americans that are armed. I mean, the people have law-abiding citizens, okay? I mean, they have millions upon millions of guns. You don't hear anybody getting killed by these people who are fought by. It's always the criminals that do the killing. So I mean, basically, we have a right. We're not going to. I mean, we fought the British in 1700s. 3% of the population fought the British and defeated the greatest military giant in the world. So I mean, it's just like what we have now is we have a bunch of godless progressives in this country thinking they can basically flip this country into some sort of one world order, and the rest of us are going to go along with it. I mean, when the money runs out, the whole thing is going to change against them because they get paid by us. The military, I mean, we the people of the United States pay for the military. We pay their pensions, we pay their retirement. Now, the military is not going to give up their retirement for someone like Obama or someone who's a communist or anything. They're not going to do it. It's going to be like the French Revolution all over again. The French military backed the people because that's where the money was. And it's the same thing in this country. And they compare it. I mean, what gets me going is when they compare us to Hitler in Germany. I mean, Hitler didn't have to deal with the 3 branches of government that was reelected every 2 years. And to prove to people out there that we are in control, this is why these people come to our houses and knock on our doors and our town halls every 2 to 4 years to ask us for money and our vote. If we weren't in charge, they wouldn't be talking to us. They would ignore us completely. But they have to come to us every 2 to 4 years to get elected. Now, if somebody decides to wipe out the election or declare martial law, which I argue, under what pretense can he declare martial law? Because he may lose an election? The military will arrest him. He can't do it. Just like, I mean, Abraham Lincoln was in the middle of an armed insurrection with 2 giant armies on our soil and never declared martial law. In 1864, and the casualty rate in 1864 was over 300,000 then.
That's part of their whole plan here. And the oldest maxim in warfare is divide and conquer. Oh, you're a Republican? Well, I'm a Democrat. Oh, you're a conservative? Well, I'm a liberal. To me, they're all 2 wings of the same bird. The bird is a global government.
Right. But the global government has one big problem. They have a population in this country that is armed to the teeth. And all we need is, like I said, 3% can cause a lot of damage.
Yes.
And they can't get the Chinese army over here to take our guns away because an army travels on its belly, and the Chinese can't even feed half their people here. So, I mean, the whole system is not perfected. They just think that they think they're going to take over by terror and fear, and Americans are going to basically roll over like the Germans did, the Japanese did, and the Russian people did. I mean, when the Russians took over, the Bolsheviks took over in Russia, I mean, the entire country was at a point of starvation. The Romanovs had basically taken everything. I mean, we don't have that in this country. We get people on welfare making, just 60, 70,000, 80,000 a year, even more. They own homes. I mean, the biggest problem with poor people in this country is obesity. I mean, it's a whole different setup here. I mean, it's like, so what they're trying to do is just keep taxing us and taxing us and taxing us, basically to buy votes and try to create this society of malcontents who are just basically mooching off the government, and the Democratic Party is basically using this extortion racket to buy votes. That's all this is. And when people get fed up with it, they're gonna throw them out of office.
We've got a couple of minutes left here. Let's give out your website. My guest today is Jack Marino. The website is ForgottenHeroesTheMovie.com, and it's
right.
linked on FreeAmerican.com.
Right, and what you do is, I ask everybody to please buy the film because the $5 donations go into a memorial wall in Washington to honor all the disabled vets from the Revolution to today. But the main thing is to every DVD that I sell, basically is a protest against what Hollywood's making. I mean, don't give them the $20. Give it to me. I intend to make some good, wholesome American films like the stuff we grew up in the 50s. But I need funding. I mean, I can actually, if I can raise money out of Wall Street or anything like that in the private sector, I can make movies. And you don't have to spend $30 million